The wind was sharp like broken glass. It cut across the wide, dead land of the dust fields. The sky was gray, filled with ash. Nothing moved, except for the weak, slow breath of a girl lying near a pile of old, broken machines. Her name was Lyra. She was not human. Her skin was light blue, almost white. Her hair was silver. Tangled with dust, she looked like a ghost left behind. A small red mark glowed on her neck. It blinked slowly, like a warning. The mark meant only one thing: too sick to save. A transport ship had left just hours ago. It carried other alien survivors, the strong ones, the useful ones. Lyra was not one of them. She had coughed blood during the check. She had collapsed, so the guards threw her out like trash. No one cried, no one looked back. Lyra tried to move. Her fingers twitched. But her body was cold and weak. Her lungs burned with each breath. She wanted to sleep and never wake up. Maybe that would be easier. But the wind whispered something new. A sound different from before. Footsteps. A man walked across the dust fields. He wore a long coat made from old ship parts and fabric. His face was hidden behind a cracked helmet. He was human. He was looking for scrap to sell in the black markets. His name was Ethan. He stopped when he saw her. At first, he thought she was dead. Then he saw her fingers move again. He walked closer. Her eyes opened just a little. They were glowing, weak but alive. Ethan looked at the red mark on her neck. He knew what it meant. He should have walked away. Helping her could bring trouble. She was an alien, marked for death, but something inside him said no. He bent down. He touched her face gently. It was ice cold. "You're still alive," he whispered. "I'm not letting you die here." He lifted her carefully. Her body was light to light, bones and skin. He wrapped her in his coat and carried her back to his old land speeder. Inside the speeder, he turned on the heater. He gave her water. She coughed but swallowed a little. Ethan drove fast through the broken lands. No one saw him. No one stopped him. When he reached his home, a small cabin near the mountain edge, he carried her inside. The cabin was simple. One bed, one chair, one heater. He placed her on the bed and covered her with blankets. Ethan cleaned her wounds and gave her some soft food. She didn't speak, but her eyes followed him. They were full of fear and confusion. At night, he sat beside her. He checked her vitals with an old med scanner. The results were bad. Her organs were failing. Her immune system was broken. The machine said, "Lyra, species 0, status, terminal." But Ethan didn't. "Stop," he whispered. "You're not terminal to me." In the dark, Lyra whispered something back. "Why? Help me." Ethan looked at her, surprised. He didn't think she had the strength to speak. He replied, "Because once I was dying too, and no one helped me." He looked away. "I survived, but it changed me." Lyra stared at the ceiling. Her lips trembled. She said nothing more. That night, she had nightmares. She twisted in pain, cried softly. Ethan stayed awake, holding her hand. He spoke calming words again and again. "Breathe. You're safe now. I've got you." Outside, the cold wind screamed. But inside the cabin, hope was quietly waking. She had been thrown away, left to die, but now someone was fighting for her, and maybe, just maybe, she would survive. The sun on planet Viren never truly shined, but that morning the clouds seemed a little less gray. Inside Ethan's cabin, the air was warmer. And the girl on the bed, the one left to die, was still alive. Her name was Lyra. She hadn't spoken again since last night. But she opened her eyes slowly, looking at the ceiling like she didn't trust it. Ethan sat nearby with a bowl of soup in his hands. He watched her carefully when he saw her eyes open. He smiled gently. "You're awake," he said. His voice was soft but full of relief. She didn't reply, just blinked, confused, weak. He moved closer and offered her the soup. Lyra turned her head away. She looked scared, almost like a wounded animal. Ethan understood, so he set the bowl beside her and walked away. He started fixing the heater again, using spare parts and old tools. An hour passed, then 2. When he turned around again, the bowl was empty. She had eaten. That gave him hope. Each day, he stayed by her side. He cleaned her wounds, gave her soft food, and helped her drink. She was still too weak to move much, but her breathing was steadier now. Her eyes were clearer. One night, while sitting beside her, Ethan spoke. "My name's Ethan." He waited. No answer. He tried again. "I live here." Alone, still no reply, but her eyes followed his lips. She understood. "I used to work in the outer colonies," he continued. "Got hurt in a mining accident. They left me for dead too." He chuckled sadly. "Guess we're both leftovers." Suddenly, Lyra whispered something. "Lyra." Ethan froze. He looked at her, surprised. "Your name?" he asked. She gave a small nod. That was the first real step. From that moment, things began to change. She let him help her sit up. She accepted food from his hands. Her voice came back slowly, quiet, broken, but real. Ethan learned small things about her. She was from the Zyra species, psychic empaths who could feel emotions and energy. She was taken during a border raid and marked too sick to save because her empathic core was damaged. "They thought I was dangerous," she said. Her voice shook. "Broken mind can break others too?" Ethan didn't believe that. "You're not dangerous," he said. "You're just hurt." That night, something happened. As Lyra slept, she began to tremble violently. Her body jerked, and she let out small cries. Nightmares. Ethan rushed to her side. He held her hands and whispered, "You're safe, Lyra. It's not real." But then her eyes opened, glowing. And Ethan felt something strange for a moment. A wave of sadness hit him like a storm. Memories flashed through his mind. Pain, loss, fear, not his own. Hers. It ended quickly. Lyra gasped, her body falling still again. She woke up hours later and turned her head toward him. "You felt it, didn't you?" she asked weakly. Ethan nodded. "That was you." She nodded slowly. "Ashamed. I didn't mean to. I lose control sometimes." Her voice was barely a whisper. "That's why they threw me away. I'm not safe." Ethan didn't speak. Right away, he walked to the table, poured water into a metal cup, then brought it to her. He helped her drink. After a moment, he said, "You're not dangerous. Lyra, you're just alone." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. No one had ever said those words to her. "I'll help you heal," Ethan said. "But not just your body. Your heart, too." She stared at him, her lips trembling. "Why do you care? I'm not like you. I'm not even human." Ethan smiled gently. "I don't care what you are. You're alive, and no one should be left to die just because they're different." That night, Lyra didn't tremble. She slept. Quietly, peacefully. The red mark on her neck still glowed. It still meant too sick to save, but inside, something had already started to change, and maybe the healing had already begun. The cabin was quiet. The fire crackled softly in the old heater. Outside, the wind howled across the empty land. But inside, Lyra slept peacefully. Her skin no longer looked so pale. Her breath was stronger now. Her body was healing. Ethan stood by the window, looking out into the darkness. He had rebuilt the door and set motion sensors around the cabin. He didn't trust the colony authorities. If they found out he was hiding a marked alien, he'd be in trouble. But tonight, the silence gave him peace. For the first time in weeks, he felt like things were going to be okay. Then, just after midnight, he heard a noise, not from outside, but from the bed. Lyra was shaking. Her hands clutched the blanket. She was whispering. Ethan rushed to her side. Lyra. He said softly. Her eyes were closed. She was dreaming. Or maybe trapped. Stop. Stop whispering. She murmured, "Leave me alone." Suddenly, her eyes snapped open, glowing bright silver. She screamed, sitting up. Her breath fast and sharp. Ethan grabbed her shoulders gently. "It's okay. It's just me. You're safe here." Lyra looked around wildly, then slowly calmed. Her glowing eyes faded back to normal. She was sweating, shaking. She looked terrified. I heard them again. She whispered, "The voices, Ethan." Frowned. "What voices?" Lyra took a deep breath. "My people. The Zyra. We are born with open minds. We don't just feel emotions. We hear thoughts." Ethan sat beside her quietly, letting her speak. "When I was little, I could hear everything," she said. "My parents said I was special, but after the labs took me, something broke. Now I can't shut the voices out." She pressed her hands to her head. "Even here, far from everyone. They found me again tonight." Ethan asked carefully, "What did they say?" Lyra looked down. "They told me I'm cursed, that I'll destroy anyone who stays near me, that I should have died in the dust fields." Ethan's jaw tightened. He reached out and gently took her hand. "Lyra," he said firmly, "you're not cursed. You're strong. You've survived what most couldn't, and you didn't hurt me." She looked at him, confused. "But the wave. You felt my pain before?" "Yes." He nodded. "I felt it. But I didn't break. You showed me your pain. That's not weakness. It's trust." Her lips parted slightly. She hadn't thought of it that way. "Your power isn't the problem," Ethan continued. "It's the way they treated you. They were afraid of what they didn't understand." Lyra felt tears fill her eyes. She wiped them quickly, embarrassed. Ethan stood up and walked to a small box by the shelf. He opened it and pulled out a small silver disc. "I found this years ago," he said, handing it to her. "It's an old mindshield chip, used by soldiers with PTSD. It might help block the outside voices." She took the chip in her hands. It was warm from his touch. "No one's ever tried to help me control it before," she said softly. Ethan smiled. "Well, now someone is." That night, they placed the chip gently behind her ear. It clicked into place, connecting with her nervous system. At first, she felt dizzy. Then, silence. Not empty silence, peaceful silence. For the first time in years, her mind was quiet. She looked at Ethan with wide eyes. "I can't hear them," she whispered. "It's just me." "And you?" Ethan nodded. "That's how it should be." Lyra gave a small laugh. It was quiet, but real. A laugh that said, "I'm alive." But deep inside, she still felt afraid. She didn't want to hurt him. And she didn't fully trust herself. "I need to learn to control it," she said. Ethan replied, "I'll help you." Every step of the way, outside, the wind moved through the trees. But it didn't feel cold anymore. Inside the cabin, a bond was growing stronger. She wasn't just healing in body, her spirit was waking too, and neither of them knew that her powers were about to become something far greater than either could imagine. Morning came with pale light through the window. Lyra sat near the heater, wrapped in a blanket. Her silver hair loose around her shoulders. She looked stronger now. Her skin had more color. Her hands didn't shake as much. She even smiled a little when Ethan gave her fresh soup. "You're healing fast," Ethan said with a nod. Lyra smiled back and whispered, "Because you made this place feel safe," but safety never lasted long on planet Viren. Not for someone hiding the truth. Later that day, Ethan went to the market in the lower colony. He needed food, clean water packs, and medical herbs. He wore a hooded coat to stay unnoticed, but the colony was always watching, always whispering. A man stopped him near a vendor stall. "Ethan? Haven't seen you in weeks." Ethan forced a smile. "Been busy in the forest, fixing old sensors." The man nodded. but his eyes stayed sharp. "You heard about the alien survivor?" he asked. Marked 1 escaped the trash zone, Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He kept his face calm. "No, I've been out of range." The man leaned closer. "They say she's dangerous. Psychic military patrols are searching nearby forests." Ethan grabbed his supplies quickly and left. He felt the eyes behind him, watching, guessing. By the time he reached the cabin, his breath was tight in his chest. Lyra looked up from the chair, sensing his fear. "What happened?" she asked softly. Ethan locked the door, checked the cameras, then finally turned to her. "They're looking for you," he said. "They think you're dangerous." Lyra's face turned pale. She touched the red mark still glowing faintly on her neck. "They'll never stop," she said, voice shaking. "They want me dead." Or worse. Ethan stood still for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Then we can't stay here." They worked through the night. Ethan packed essentials, water, food, old tech devices. Lyra tried to help, but her hands trembled when she touched the bags. "I'm slowing you down," she said, ashamed. Ethan looked at her seriously. "No," he said. "You're the reason I'm moving at all." Just before sunrise, they left the cabin. Ethan led Lyra into the deep forest. There were no marked trails, only old animal paths and hidden corners. He had once found a hidden lab bunker deep inside the woods. It had been abandoned long ago, but still had power from solar cells. That was their destination, a new hiding place, but they didn't know. Someone had already followed them, back at the edge of the forest. 2 bounty hunters scanned the old cabin. One of them picked up a faint psychic trail, soft but fresh. "She's close." The tall one said, "Call it in." The other whispered, "We found the marked girl." Meanwhile, Keesley and Ethan reached the bunker before noon. It was covered in moss, hidden under branches and stone. Ethan entered a code into the side panel, and the door slowly opened. Inside, it was dusty but dry. Shelves filled with old equipment, dim lights flickering above, better than sleeping in the dirt. Ethan joked. Lyra gave a small, tired laugh. "Still feels like home." Ethan checked the old systems. The power worked, water filtration worked. It could be a safe place. But he couldn't shake the feeling something was coming. That night, Lyra sat in silence. She stared at a small metal plate on the wall. It had words in human language. "Forgotten does not mean worthless." She touched the letters gently. "I used to believe I was broken." She whispered that I had no value. Ethan stood beside her. "You're not broken, Lyra," he said. "You were just abandoned by the wrong people." Suddenly, a sound echoed through the forest. Boom. Then another boom. Lyra gasped. "They're here," she said in a whisper. "I can feel their minds. Angry, hunting." Ethan grabbed his pulse rifle from the wall. "Stay behind me," he said. Red lights began flashing outside the bunker. A voice echoed through a speaker drone. "Step out and surrender the marked Zyra you are harboring." A Class D threat. Ethan looked at Lyra. She was shaking, her hands glowing faintly with energy. Her voice cracked. "They'll kill you too, just for helping me." But Ethan stood firm. "Let them try," he said. "I'm not losing you." Outside, the hunters moved closer. But what they didn't know was that Lyra wasn't weak anymore, and inside her, something powerful was waking up. The forest was darker now. Thick clouds rolled in above the tall trees. Rain dripped softly through the leaves. The bunker lights flickered as the solar batteries drained. But inside, Lyra and Ethan stayed quiet. They had survived the night. The bounty hunters didn't find the exact entrance, but they were close, too close. Ethan checked the outer sensors again. "They're moving in circles," he said. "They'll come back." Lyra sat on the cold metal floor, legs pulled close to her chest. Her eyes were tired, but her mind was alert. She felt strange, A tightness in her chest, not pain. Something else. She placed her hand on her belly. It was warm, pulsing softly. Ethan. She whispered. He turned. I need you to scan me again. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded and brought the med scanner. He placed it near her. Stomach. The screen blinked once. Then again. Then it froze. Life detected hybrid embryo health. Stable. Ethan stepped back slowly. He stared at the screen. His hands shook slightly. Lyra looked down, trying to find the right words. It happened. Before I was marked, she said. Before they threw me away, I thought the child was lost. But it survived. Ethan swallowed hard. He stared at her. His voice was low. Is it mine? Lyra nodded. Yes, she said quietly. I was afraid to tell you. I didn't know if I was going to live. He took a deep breath, then knelt beside her and touched her hand gently. I'm not angry, he said. I'm just surprised. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Ethan smiled faintly. I never imagined being a father out here. Lyra smiled back. Neither did I. But danger was still near, and now they weren't just protecting themselves, they were protecting a new life. Ethan stood up, his face serious again. I have to upgrade the defenses, he said, and we need to move deeper underground. The bunker had a second level, hidden behind an old sealed hatch. Ethan used tools to break it open. Dust filled the air. Lyra coughed lightly, but helped him pull back the heavy metal door. A dark stairwell led down into a deeper chamber. Lights flickered to life. Inside was a forgotten lab. Broken monitors, dusty tables, old pods, but the power still hummed softly. This place? Lyra whispered. It's full of old energy. She could feel it in her bones. The walls still held psychic traces, memories of experiments, tests, pain, and escape. Ethan began cleaning the area. He set up beds, charged a defense field, and checked for air filters. Meanwhile, Lyra sat in a corner and focused. She placed her hands over her belly and closed her eyes. She reached out with her mind, not far, just within herself. She could feel the baby now. Not just physically, but emotionally. It was peaceful, strong, human. And Zyra, it had no fear, only warmth, and somehow, it made her stronger too. Later that evening, Ethan found something on one of the lab shelves. A data crystal marked Z-Child test, failed, locked. He placed it in an old reader. It played a message from a Zyra scientist. She spoke in a tired voice. The hybrid program failed. Or so we thought. No embryo survived beyond 3 weeks. Too much psychic pressure, but the last test, subject L7, showed signs of stability. Ethan and Lyra stared at each other. Lyra's voice cracked. L7. That was me. She had been part of a secret program to merge Zyra and human DNA. Not broken, not sick, experimental. They lied to me, Lyra said in a trembling voice. They marked me too sick. To hide the truth, they didn't want others to know I survived. Ethan stood slowly, his voice cold. They didn't just want to kill you. They wanted to erase you. Now it made sense why they hunted her, why the bounty hunters kept searching. She wasn't just an abandoned alien. She was proof of something greater, and the child growing inside her was the future they feared. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. We're not running anymore, he said. We'll build a safe place here. No matter who comes. Outside, the forest whispered with wind, but the bunker below was alive. With something new, not fear, not weakness, hope. Lyra looked at Ethan. Her eyes filled with light. I'm not just surviving anymore, she said. I'm becoming something more. And in the deep quiet of the forest, the hidden things began to wake. Not weapons, not machines, but the unstoppable power of love and truth. Asterisk, the days passed quietly inside the hidden lab. Ethan fixed the lights, reinforced the walls, and built traps around the forest edge. Lyra stayed underground, her hands often resting on her belly. The baby inside her was growing faster than human speed, but strangely, Lyra didn't feel pain. She felt stronger. "She's not just healing you," Ethan said one night, watching her eyes glow softly in the dark. "She's changing you." Lyra nodded. "She's choosing life even when the world wants her dead." They thought they were alone, but the galaxy was watching, and someone had finally tracked them down. Far above the forest, a black military ship floated silently. Inside, it sat a woman in a white coat, sharp eyes, no warmth. Dr. Velen, lead researcher from the Zyra human hybrid program. "She survived," Velen said, staring at the screen. "And she's pregnant." A soldier beside her asked, "What are your orders, ma'am?" Velen replied coldly, "Capture her alive. The child must be extracted back on the surface." Ethan sensed something was wrong. Birds had flown off in a sudden panic. Motion sensors buzzed. Drones, silent and fast, were now circling. "The outer trees, they're here," he told Lyra. He grabbed his plasma rifle and ran outside. The traps were ready. He wouldn't let them take her. Lyra followed. Even though Ethan told her to stay, "I can feel them," she whispered. So many minds. Cold, empty. No mercy. Ethan aimed carefully and took down the first drone. A second exploded from a trap, but more kept coming. Suddenly, a deep hum filled the air. A beam of light shot down from the sky. A teleport pod. It landed just meters from the tent. Bunker. A door opened. 3 armored figures stepped out, and behind them, Dr. Velen. She didn't look surprised to see Ethan aiming a gun. She looked at Lyra instead. "My dear?" "You've grown," Velen said smoothly, "and you've done the impossible." Lyra narrowed her eyes. "You told them I was too sick," she said. "You lied to everyone." Velen walked forward slowly. "You were an unstable risk," she replied, "but this," she pointed at Lyra's belly. "This changes everything," Ethan growled. "You're not taking them?" Velen smiled cruelly. "You think love makes you strong. Let's see how strong you are against pain." She nodded to her soldiers. They raised their weapons. Lyra stepped forward. Her eyes began to glow bright, brighter than ever before. Her voice was low, but steady. "Don't come closer," she said. "You don't understand what I've become." Velen laughed. "You're still just a broken girl with broken powers." But she was wrong. Lyra closed her eyes and reached deep inside. She didn't just hear the minds around her. She touched them, one by one. The soldiers dropped their weapons, their hands shaking, their faces full of fear. "What are you doing?" Velen shouted. Lyra's voice echoed in their minds now. Not in anger, but in truth. "You were used." Just like I was, the soldiers fell to their knees. Their memories opened to years of lies, control, orders, without meaning. Velen screamed and pulled out a small blaster. But Ethan moved faster. He knocked her weapon aside and threw her to the ground. She spat dirt and glared up at Lyra. "You think this child will change anything?" she hissed. "They'll hunt her forever." Lyra stepped forward and looked her in the eyes. "She's not a weapon," she said. "She's hope behind them." The soldiers stood and walked away, broken free from control. Ethan tied Velen and placed her inside the teleport pod, then set the pod to return to orbit. Locked and sealed, let the galaxy deal with its own monsters. That night, Lyra collapsed in Ethan's arms. Her energy almost gone, but her smile stayed. "She's still safe," she whispered. I felt her heartbeat the whole time. Ethan held her close. "I'll protect both of you," he said, "no matter what comes next." And though the galaxy still turned with its wars and secrets, one place deep in the forest stayed quiet. Not empty, but full of something rare. A future, a family, a promise kept under the stars. The forest was quiet again. No more drones, no more soldiers, no more voices in Lyra's head. Only the sound of wind in the tall trees and the soft hum of the hidden lab. Peace had finally come, but only after a war no one saw. Ethan sat beside Lyra on the bunker bed. She was pale, but calm. Her hands rested gently on her swollen belly. "She's ready," Lyra whispered. "I can feel it." Ethan looked at her and nodded. "I've prepared everything," he said softly. He had cleared the med lab, sterilized old machines, tested power systems again and again. He had never delivered a child before, but he would do anything for them. That night, the stars above the forest seemed to shine brighter. And deep underground, a cry echoed through the lab. Lyra gave birth under the soft white lights of the old bunker. Her screams were full of pain, but also strength. She never let go of Ethan's hand. Then, after hours of struggle, a sound broke the silence. A high, clear, soft cry. Ethan held the tiny baby girl in his arms. She was small, wrapped in silver blue skin with faint human features. Her eyes glowed softly, not with power, but with life. "She's beautiful," Ethan said, his voice shaking. Lyra smiled weakly. "She's more than that," she whispered. "She's proof that two broken souls can build something whole." They named her Lyra, a mix of both their worlds. Over the next days, the lab turned into something new. Not just a bunker, not just a hideout, a home. Ethan fixed old lights and grew small plants under sun lamps. He crafted a crib from wood and metal. He hummed lullabies while holding the baby in his arms. Lyra regained her strength quickly. Lyra fed often and never cried for long. She could already sense emotions calming Ethan when he was afraid, and when she looked at her mother, their thoughts touched gently like a whisper. "She knows me," Lyra said one evening, "not just as a mother, but as someone she trusts completely." Ethan smiled. "She knows me too." He added, "When I hold her, I don't feel alone anymore." But the world outside hadn't forgotten them. The return of Dr. Vellen's pod caused a storm across both human and Zyra networks. Her logs exposed the illegal hybrid program. Her betrayal and silence revealed the cruelty hidden in official files. People protested. Sympathizers marched on outer colonies. Some wanted justice. Some wanted answers. And some just wanted peace. But no one could find the hybrid child, not even advanced scanners, because the forest had accepted Lyra and Ethan. It hid them, protected them, like part of its own roots. Then one day, a message came through an old radio line. A soft voice spoke in code only Ethan knew from his mining days. It said, "You are not hunted anymore. You are free to come back if you want to be seen." Ethan looked at Lyra. They both knew what it meant. They had a choice now. Hide forever, or show the galaxy that love had built something worth protecting. "Are you afraid?" Ethan asked her that night. Lyra shook her head. "I was afraid when I had nothing," she said. "But now, I have you and her." They decided to wait. Not out of fear, but to raise Lyra in peace. To teach her kindness before she learned fear. To show her trust before she heard hate. Years passed like pages in a book. Lyra grew fast. She laughed like sunshine. She floated small rocks with her mind while chasing insects through the grass. She loved stories, especially the one where her mother was marked for death, but lived, and the one where her father risked everything just to save a stranger. One morning, as dawn lit the trees in gold, Lyra sat between them, small fingers in both their hands. "Can I meet the world one day?" she asked. Lyra kissed her forehead. "Yes, my light," she said. "But first, the world must learn to deserve you." And so, in a hidden place beneath the trees, a new kind of family lived. One built not on species or duty, but on choice. On love, on sacrifice. Lyra, once thrown out as too sick to save. Ethan, once broken and forgotten. And Lyra, the child who was never supposed to exist, but did. Together, they waited, not in hiding, but in hope, because some stories aren't about war or power. Some stories are about healing and the courage to begin again.